What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Star Wars season finale here on Cinematic Reviews. You can find this episode and the rest of the season on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also support the pod by giving Cinematic Reviews a rating on your favorite podcast listening service. Today, I give my reaction to the finale of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Liam freaking Neeson returns. We finally got to see our boy Qui-Gon Jinn as a Force Ghost. We also got another incredible showdown between Vader and Obi-Wan. This episode was so awesome as both a finale for the show and the Star Wars project in general. I was very surprised by how well it wrapped up everything except for one character, and you could probably guess who that is. So with that, let's just get the negatives out of the way because this was a truly awesome episode. Now, you all know how I feel about the Reva character, and last week's episode helped me become more positive with her. But unfortunately, the finale brought me back to my original thoughts on the character as a whole. She's a poorly written character, plain and simple. We got a really cool moment in last week's episode where her backstory connecting to Order 66 was confirmed. Her arc in this episode, though, was too weak for me to feel any kind of emotional connection to the character. Every time it cut to her scenes, I kept saying to myself, just get back to the Obi-Wan and Vader fight. I'm more emotionally invested in that part of the story because it has been built up for so many years. If Reva was written a lot better, I would have been more emotionally invested in her throughout this entire series. I'm sure Moses Ingram is a terrific actor in other projects, but this one did not sell me on her, unfortunately. I've been told she's great in The Queen's Gambit, so I'll definitely be checking that series out in the near future. I was just really hoping we would have a better written arc for the Reva character. I would have loved to see her make some kind of sacrifice in order to redeem herself in the end. She should have died fighting alongside Obi-Wan instead of running off to kill Luke and then not doing it. It was way too weak as a redemption arc for me overall. I'm really disappointed in the Inquisitors overall also. Filoni should have been involved with this series, and it shows definitely. If you really want to see how badass the Inquisitors can be, check out the Rebels animated series, as well as the Fallen Order video game. There are rumors of a Cal Kestis series in the Fallen Order time period of Star Wars, so hopefully the Inquisitors get another shot at a true live-action rendition. Another negative I have is the whole Reva going to kill Luke side plot. The entire time I was afraid of them breaking canon with Luke seeing a lightsaber or the Force, instead of focusing on the scene itself. Again, that's just terrible writing to me. There was no reason to return to Tatooine and Luke until the very last portion of the episode as a kind of wrap-up for the Obi-Wan character. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru were total badasses in this, though, which is really the only positive I could give this part of the episode. The entire interaction between Obi-Wan and Reva was also very weak and didn't make me feel anything. I understand what they were going for with Reva battling with the dark and light side. It just didn't hit for me. She should have died fighting Vader before we got the epic showdown between him and Obi-Wan. It's just disappointing now that I think of it. I only really enjoyed half this episode because the Reva stuff was so poorly written and handled. The other half of the finale was incredibly well done, though. We get a really touching ending between Leia and Obi-Wan on Alderaan. I love their relationship throughout this entire series, and I'm excited to watch the original trilogy again after watching their relationship grow throughout the episodes. Vivian Blair did such an awesome job playing young Leia. I wouldn't mind seeing her pop up again in more projects set around this time period, maybe even her own 6-episode series. We also finally get Liam Neeson returning as a Force Ghost Qui-Gon, which absolutely blew my mind. They teased it in every episode, and to finally get it feels so awesome. I kept predicting that we would see him before the Vader fight, but I think having him be in the last scene was just as awesome. I don't know if it was just me, but the writers made it seem like we could get a season 2 centered around Obi-Wan receiving some training with Qui-Gon leading up to A New Hope. I definitely need to watch this episode again, but as of right now, I'm all for a second season if Disney decides to greenlight it. I want to see more Vader versus Obi-Wan because it was so incredibly done. Even if it's just a Vader series instead of a Kenobi one. Either way, the negatives in this show didn't pull me away from Star Wars overall. I'm all in on anything Disney throws out there in the Star Wars universe. Now for the main event. The Vader Obi-Wan duel was so awesome to watch. I loved every minute of it. This fight is easily in my top 5 moments of Star Wars. The choreography was incredible, as well as all the dialogue. Ewan and Hayden freaking killed it in these scenes. I lost my shit when Obi-Wan started destroying Vader's chest piece with the hilt of his lightsaber, and then finishing him off with a blow to the face that revealed Hayden underneath. The wheezing sounds from Vader the entire time were also a great touch to it. I'm so glad Hayden got to return to this role, and he definitely killed it. I'm all in on giving Hayden a series for himself also. We do know that he is returning for the Ahsoka show next year, which is really awesome. I'm very excited to see Rosario Dawson and Hayden in scenes together. The decision to splice Hayden's voice with James Earl Jones after Vader's mask is cut up was so good. It was so incredibly done visually as well as sound editing. I was disappointed with the fight not being on Mustafar, and I think it was a huge missed opportunity for nostalgia to hit the audience really hard there. It would have been so cool to see Obi-Wan return there, especially that moment when he sees Anakin underneath the mask, which again was such an incredible moment. Ewan's performance in that scene was so good. You could feel the pain in his eyes as he looked upon his best friend and what he had become. For a moment, I thought that Vader was going to say, "Now I have the high ground, Obi-Wan," when we get that shot of him standing above Obi-Wan, who is trapped in that hole. It might have been a little too cheesy, but I think it would have been a great callback to Episode 3. I did love all the dialogue in this entire fight, though, and I'll read a couple of my favorite quotes here. So the scene starts off with Vader, "Have you come to kill me?" And then Obi-Wan responds, "I will do what I must," which is a great callback to their fight on Mustafar in Episode 3. Obi-Wan says, "Anakin," and then Vader responds, "Anakin is gone. I am what remains," which is such a menacing line to say to Obi-Wan. And Vader says, "I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did," which again is also so menacing to say. And then the scene ends with Obi-Wan saying that my friend is truly dead. Goodbye, Darth. The pain in Obi-Wan's eyes is so heartbreaking, and it's a neat callback to when A New Hope starts. Obi-Wan calls Darth Vader Darth now instead of Anakin like he does in this show. Now, it may seem like I'm really down on this episode, and in some ways I am. But overall, I did really love it, along with the series as a whole. It's just the Reva and the Inquisitors were done so poorly that it's hard not to feel disappointed with the show in some capacity. I blame the writers more than the actors themselves on it, though. We did get Qui-Gon as a Force Ghost. We got an epic showdown between Vader and Obi-Wan. We even got the return of Ian freaking McDiarmid as the Emperor, which I almost forgot to talk about. That scene between Vader and the Emperor on Mustafar blew my freaking mind. I also didn't see that coming. It felt so good to see him jump back into that role, even if it was just for one scene as a hologram. I love this series, despite all my issues with it. I don't think it's the best Star Wars project, but it's definitely one of the best. So with that, let's jump over to the rankings to end the season. So looking at the list right now, we've got The Mandalorian coming in at number 1. Number 2, The Book of Boba Fett. 3, Empire Strikes Back. 4 is Rogue One. 5, Return of the Jedi. 6, A New Hope. 7, The Force Awakens. 8, Revenge of the Sith. 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi sitting at number 10. 11, The Phantom Menace. 12, Attack of the Clones. And at 13, Solo. Now, Kenobi is definitely not better than The Mandalorian. That is by far the best Star Wars project to date. Kenobi is at least better than all the Disney films, so it'll go above Force Awakens at number 7. Now, is it better than the original trilogy? We do get the best iteration of Vader in Kenobi, so I would put it at least above Rogue One, which is sitting at number 4. Even though I absolutely love that film, especially the hallway massacre committed by Vader at the end. So that leaves me asking if it's better than Empire or Boba Fett. Now, Empire has always been my favorite of the films, and it still is. The fight between Vader and Luke on Cloud City is so awesome. Plus, we get the iconic "I am your father" moment, which is the best moment in any film. With Boba Fett, I know 2 of the 7 episodes were technically Mandalorian episodes, but overall, I really love that series. The epic moments in Kenobi hit harder, I think, but I just have too many problems with the Reva character and the Inquisitors overall. I expected the writing to be way better since the Inquisitors were so well done in the Rebels show. So with that, I would have to put Kenobi below Empire Strikes Back at number 4. This is an incredible Star Wars project despite all my negatives. If Disney does throw out a second season, I will definitely watch it every week, just like I did with this one. Ewan is simply incredible as the Obi-Wan Kenobi character. I hope we get a lot more of him in the future, whether it is a second season or if he just pops up in other series like Andor. I am currently converting all the cinematic review rankings over to IMDb right now because for some reason Letterboxd does not have series on there to rank. So IMDb will now be the main spot to find all these ranking lists. But you can still find them on Letterboxd. It will be just a secondary spot for those that do enjoy Letterboxd. Well, that concludes the Star Wars season here on Cinematic Reviews. Have no fear though, Cinematic Reviews will be returning to the Star Wars universe next year for the 3rd season of Mandalorian as well as the Ahsoka show. Also, join me every week for New Release Monday. The next new release will be Adam Sandler's Hustle. But until then, may the Force be with you, always.